They invited all the royals to Lilibet's christening, but they all declined to come, as if they're all going to get on a plane and fly to California to embrace the people who've been trashing them for the last 3 years.
An absolute illuminating bombshell in regards to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's absolute insane story of Archie's birth.
They felt like her posts on social media where she barely shows the kids is almost taunting the king, who doesn't know these children.
Rachel Meghan, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex, née Markle, did not give birth to Archie.
Harry and Meghan have made an unbelievably serious allegation against a senior member of the royal family, which is incredibly damaging to the royal family and to the monarchy. Let's have the name. They know who it is. Stop smearing everybody by association and give us the name of this person. But they also say in the same interview that their baby, Archie, has had a new rule brought in by the royals to prevent him from being a prince.
Parliament has come out and flatly admitted that they have no documents and therefore they cannot confirm simply whether Archie was born at the Portland hospital.
Member of color in this family not being titled in the same way that other grandchildren would be. It's not their right to take it away.
Used in a very, very nasty way to attack people who couldn't answer back.
Yes, and brand them a bunch of racists when they weren't.
Racism is a terrible accusation to make because it's easy to make.
Why would they want to inflict on their children royal titles that make them part of the royal family worldwide and expose them to the misery and pain and trauma which Harry tells us he suffers on an hourly basis, normally for large...
What if one of the most closely watched royal stories of the modern era contains a detail that was never properly explained? For years, questions have surrounded the births of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's children, Archie and Lilibet, with critics pointing to documents, timelines, photographs, and conflicting accounts.
They kept telling the world how ghastly the monarchy is. It's a prison camp. All the royals want to get away from it, but they can't because they're trapped in the world of titles and privilege. And now they want to give their kids the titles of prince and princess, even though they don't live anywhere near the royal family. They don't do any duties. They do nothing to deserve it. They live in a mansion in Montecito in California and use their own royal titles to make loads of money.
One particular claim has drawn enormous attention, an alleged UK birth record showing a registration date that came before Archie's publicly announced date of birth. Is it simply a misunderstanding of paperwork, or is there something more behind it?
The distinction with these two is they have openly attacked the institution of the monarchy. Diana didn't do that. Fergie didn't do that. They have unloaded on the institution being a prison camp that no one can escape from. Why then would they call their kids Prince and Princess?
According to the source, a copy of Archie's official birth record allegedly showed May 1st, 2019 as the registration date, while his publicly announced birth date was May 6th.
I want to make it absolutely clear what Harry and Meghan allegedly did with this document, because when you see this document changes everything. When you see that Meghan Markle and Harry, if this is true, they have committed a fraud against the United Kingdom and the British monarchy, and that is treason, which is punished with life in prison, both Harry and Meghan. This has nothing to do about the child or what the child looks like or anything like that. It has to do with the lie.
Critics immediately questioned how a birth could be registered 5 days before the child was supposedly born. The source claims that UK registration authorities were contacted and that pre-registration was not considered normal procedure.
This is application for a birth certificate. She blacked out their customer number, names, and stuff like that, because of course those are her private details. And she's asking for a copy of a birth certificate for Archie Mountbatten Windsor. She asked for this copy on February 21st, 2026, and it was dispatched. The dispatch date was 27th February 26th. And she saw Archie Mountbatten Windsor, Archie, date of birth, May 6th. She put it away after she saw this date, that this data was okay, so she figured, okay, it is true.
But without the complete official documentation and context, the date alone cannot prove wrongdoing, and that uncertainty is precisely what has kept the controversy alive. The questions did not stop with the certificate.
And then she pulled it out about yesterday or the day before yesterday. And then she looked at the date of registration. The date that the birth was registered, according to this document, was the 1st of May of 2019. How? I immediately, when I saw this on her page, I immediately phoned the UK's registrar's office to ask if that's how they do it, if they register, pre-register the child, if for example, they say if the child is going to be born on May 9th, that would only be if they plan to induce the birth, or for example, if it was a C-section or anything, just to give the benefit of the doubt, right?
The source claims that when a registrar visited Frogmore Cottage, she was allegedly not shown the traditional hospital documentation associated with the birth, and instead received a handwritten statement from a protection officer. Critics have questioned why such an unusual arrangement would have been necessary and whether the birth information was independently verified. These claims have never been established as proof of deception, but they became another piece of a growing puzzle. And then attention turned to Harry's own description of the birth. In his memoir, Harry described Meghan's labor and the journey to Portland Hospital, including medical treatment during the delivery. Critics have argued that the reported timeline of the birth and their return to Frogmore Cottage appears difficult to reconcile with normal post-delivery recovery. The source also repeats claims that Meghan received 2 epidurals and returned home unusually quickly. However, the transcript contains no medical records proving that the timeline was impossible, meaning these remain interpretations rather than confirmed facts. Still, the question remains, why has this particular timeline generated so much suspicion? Then came the photographs. Critics examined images released after Archie's birth and raised questions about their dates, appearance, and metadata, including a christening photograph that the source claims carried a May 8, 2019 creation date. Some commentators argued that the baby appeared older than expected, while others went as far as suggesting the image had been manipulated. None of those claims, however, establishes that Archie was not born on May 6th. Yet, when questions about photographs were combined with questions about documents, the controversy became far more difficult for online audiences to ignore. Another disputed issue involves the doctor reportedly linked to Archie's birth and the later change to Meghan's name on his birth certificate. Critics saw these details as unexplained inconsistencies, while the source provides no conclusive proof of wrongdoing. Lilibet's California birth also sparked questions about medical and church records, but these remain allegations rather than confirmed facts. The controversy grew because critics began connecting these separate details into one larger story. Questions about documents, timelines, photographs, and official records created ongoing speculation, while Harry and Meghan have not publicly addressed every claim mentioned in the source. Still, an allegation should not be confused with proven evidence. For now, the biggest questions remain unanswered. Until reliable evidence confirms or disproves these claims, the story remains a mystery, and that uncertainty is exactly what continues to fuel public curiosity.